edition of the Mike On Podcast.
It sounds great to hear that President Bola Tinubu has signed performance bond with his ministers, right? A former Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu, stated this week that former President Muhammadu Buhari did not supervise his ministers. He stated in quote, "In the Buhari government, if you don't go and meet him, probably in the next 4 years, he will not ask about you." End of quote. But in what seems like a great idea, especially with tracking success or otherwise of his team, President Bola Tinubu signed performance bond with every minister after a 3-day ministers' retreat. During the retreat, the president said, in quote, "Poverty is not a shameful thing, but it's not acceptable. It's left for you and I to navigate this ship out of poverty. We have gathered here to shape the future, no doubt about it. We are the hope and aspirations of many Nigerians. Let's go out there, let's bond together and make sure our country is fully recovered from elephantiasis." The questions are, how will Nigerians hold this government accountable? Is it a departure from the past, and how effective will this bond be? Join Seun Okinbaloye as he steers this conversation with his guests on the Micon podcast today.
Hello, welcome to the Micon podcast. I'm Seun Okinbaloye. And how are you all today? How's your weekend going? Well, this podcast is about you, the listeners, and that has informed today's show format. We want to hear more from our listeners and watchers and viewers, wherever you may be watching. It is an open mic today, and we hope to get as many people as possible to weigh in on today's topic, because we generally want to have an interaction and just open the space up so that in this space of time, we can be able to look into how we can get government working, put politicians who have made promises on their toes. At least Supreme Court judgment is over. We already know. Now let's face the business of government and some of the promises that are being made. Now, during the week, the president told his cabinet members to perform or they quit. In his exact words, if you are performing nothing, if you're performing, nothing to fear. If you miss your objective, we will review. If no performance, you leave us. No one is an island and the buck stops on my desk. Those are the words of President Tinubu. He emphasized the importance of delivering results to Nigerians, especially in key areas like healthcare and education. Now, beyond promises and words, what do you make of the president's warning to members of his team? As a captain, can he steer the ship? Like I said, it is an open mic, and we are throwing the conversation open to you today. Everyone is a speaker today, and we try as much as possible to get as much people to get into the conversation. You remember that the CDD, that is the Center for Democracy and Development, in the early years of Buhari government, they released what they call the Buhari meter. It was a mechanism to measure the performance of the Buhari government and his cabinet. Well, they were releasing intermittent and periodic reports as to the performance side by side with the promises that have been made by that government. Now, can we as citizens now begin to look at the Tinubu meter? You know, because now there's a budget that's been released, the poverty in the land, a whole lot of issues are on. We cannot even afford as a people to lose sight of the focus of the agenda to remove many Nigerians out of poverty. And that's why tonight I'd like to get as many people as possible into the conversation. How can we hold the Tinubu government accountable? How can we make them deliver on the promises? Apart from the fact that Hadiza Bala Usman, who the president has said will be in charge of policy tracking and evaluation, you as a citizen, You have your own role also to track, monitor in your local area. What is the government doing? Are those dividends of democracy being delivered? Those monies that they said they budgeted in the area of roads, area of healthcare, are they delivering? And on all platforms, I'll be getting comments and reading out your opinions and your views tonight. And so let's get talking, everyone, shall we? Of course, there are a few people already on Twitter space. I think that's where we will start from. There are a few people also on Instagram, on YouTube, and Facebook. Of course, we can see some of your comments, and I'll be able to read it out so that we can have some kind of a conversation, healthy debate, so that we can know how to hold this government accountable. I dare say that a Tinubu meter to track Tinubu cabinet and the federal government about their performance has started already. We will not leave them until they deliver on what they have promised. So let's start, everyone. Who is going to go first tonight? See a few people. So who is ready? There are a few speakers on Twitter Spaces already. If you're ready to go, we are ready. The mic is on. I can see if I can see any hand. The first hand will be the first person to lead us into the conversation. What do you make of signing a performance bond? Is that enough? Okay, there's a performance bond that has been signed between the president, the minister, the permanent secretary. And the president has also raised the fact that if you sabotage this government, you will leave. If you don't perform, you will leave. These are some of the issues that have been raised. Let's get talking, everyone. Okay, I can see King Adekunle, King Sonny O. Ade, Francis Ume, Valentine Okonobe, and a few other people on the Twitter space. If King Adekunle is ready, your mic is on. Please go ahead. How do we ensure that what Tinubu and his cabinet are promised in their renewed hope agenda, they deliver on it?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Okay, go ahead. Now I can hear you. Please go ahead. I can hear you. All right. I'm not sure if he's coming through with the audio from his device, but what else is there? I think it is the TBR Records that was talking earlier. If at Olamelekon 2100 is ready, your mic is on. Please, you can go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Please, good evening. You can go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. And I would like to appreciate you on one thing. I was one that called like a few months ago. I was a call member that called a few months ago. So I was unable to reach you since then. So thank you very much.
Are you done with your youth service now?
No, I'm not done. No, I'm still serving.
You're still serving the nation. Go ahead. So
yeah.
How do you hope, or how do you think we can best track Tinubu government and their cabinet's performance?
I think from the past administration, you can see the loopholes in the Buhari administration. So I think what President Tinubu has to do is just to be doing follow-up and be committed to what they are doing initially. So to not leave all those ministers, all this cabinet alone, and give them the huge follow-up so that they can perform better. So far, so good. We have been seeing a lot of policy from him, which I think is quite good for now. At least hard on everybody, but at least I believe is a necessary step to be taken. But let's just be looking and see what goes on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. But let me ask you, you're a youth, you're on your NYC, the compulsory 1 year youth service.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how much is the present allowance from the federal government?
The allowance for the government is 33,000 because I don't know why we are left out in the 35,000 wage that was promised to the federal workers, because to me, I believe you're supposed to be among of those people, which I believe they have been paying already. But up to now, we are still receiving our 33,000, which is very choking. Like, it's not easy for all the core members. I would say that I'm representing them today. It's not easy at all. 33,000, everything has increased. So I don't think maybe this government is trying to even considering the core member as this concerning the
So,
economy of
so
Nigeria.
I think that beyond, of course, then the survivor of the moment is very key. But I'd like to
Yeah,
ask you, what are your hopes? Do you think that there are jobs out there? And I know that maybe you're a Christian or a Muslim, whatever faith you belong
yeah.
to, you are hopeful and you're perhaps spiritual that, oh, after your NYC, you will get a job. But do you think that
Yeah,
the jobs are out there? Do you have any hopes that the jobs are out there?
yeah, there's no job. Oh. Even though where we are serving now, they will be telling us after our service there's no space. And
Go ahead.
yeah, any ministry that we are posted to, wherever your place of primary assignment as a core member, a lot of them will be telling you like after your service, there's no job, there's no this. Even though to accept you as a core member to serve under them, you still be begging them to even accept you when you take your request letter there. Most of the core members here in Abuja specifically, most of us, I would say like maybe 40% out of 100% don't have place of primary assignment. They are just sitting down at home because nobody wants to accept them. Even we that we are working at some organization now, they will be telling you that after your service, there's no job. So we are just
So as you
waiting
are
that.
right now, you do not have hope of a job, but you're just praying.
I'm just praying. There's no hope.
Okay, don't
No
worry.
hope.
I know everything will be all right. All right, thank you so much indeed. I'm seeing
Thank
a
you.
few comments here. Olak to Shore says, "Happy Saturday, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Shaw. I'm just joining the program. I'm delighted to be here. Your question is very important to the citizens of Nigeria. Accountability and performance rate can be actualized via various sectors of the government, local, SCDA, etc." Adeyemo Abidin on Twitter also is saying, he says, "I think we should focus more on the state governors. They should allow local government to function." These are some of the thoughts coming through. Let's get some other people talking right here on the podcast. Who do we have here? Mr. Activist, yeah. At Mr. Activist Law at Emmanuel over 2, please. Your mic is on. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. I trust you fine and I trust everyone is doing good.
Everyone
Anyways,
is good.
I look forward to hearing from you every time like this. Well, thank you once again. Like Olamileko, I recommended a woman who couldn't pay her son's health bills, and some people on this platform made sure that that money was available for her. And I don't know if I was able to come back again because that time so many things were on my hand. So, but anyways, like Olamileko, I say thank you so much and thank you to the flat platform.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah. Now, governance is not a big challenge that we normally look at it from the perspective of as Nigerians and Africans. We make a look as if there is some kind of power, mystical power that is attached to governance in Nigeria. I don't think that is the case. If Tinubu want to do the right thing, it doesn't cost him anything. If you want to do the right thing, we will know. It's not about you dishing out policies and saying this is what it is. First, you have to dismantle the racism or bottleneck around the system. For instance, every minister in Nigeria should be accountable and they should make his ministry, his findings, every money that has been expended on that. Now, the FEC, like we always said, the FEC has no business approving amount of money in that sense. We must make government businesses to be transparent and at most to be clear to the average person who want to make inquiries about how the system is going. We know we have a Bureau of Public Enterprise, and which are started to look at the government expenditures, especially in awarding contract and all those stuff. This is where it comes from. That agency or that directorate must be given its due power and reestablished once again to standpoint for what it ought to be. Now, we know very well for sure that people live above their means. Now, if a minister is living above his means, or the government officials are living above their means, and they are telling citizens to tighten up their belts, you know that there is something wrong with that kind of assertion. So if Tinubu want to start, he will, first of all, make the people that are serving under him, which we know very well that by virtue of Section 5 sub 1, Tinubu enjoys the exclusive power that is embedded with the executive. Every other person shares that executive power with him, including the vice president. So if you want to actually help Nigerian people and make governance to be transparent as much as possible, it doesn't need any much things. We have the laws. Make the law work for the people. One aspect of it, that is how to dismantle it. To remove every bureaucracies that are attached to governance in Nigeria. Three, make it very transparent that I don't need to go to Abuja. I don't need to go to anywhere to assess or to solve what's happening in the system. Yeah. So
let me ask you quickly. Okay. Let me ask you if there are 3 areas, because those who are in government, the president is just one president, the cabinet members are just a group of people under 100. They may not be able to identify all the problems that Nigerians are facing, and we can almost say, "Oh, economy, security, blah." But as a Nigerian, I don't know what sector you're working or what expertise you have. If there are 3 things that you think are important that will help our nation today, what would those things be?
Thank you so much. I think the first thing, first of all, for me, is that the nation is hungry. We have displaced young people. There should immediately declare state of emergency in the power sector, and vis-a-vis running side by side with youth empowerment, not just youth empowerment in sharing you win money or whatever money. There should be a deliberate effort by government to invest in Nigerian youth and be able to give them the leeway to be able to have what we call purpose as an individual, as a citizen. That's the only thing that will make persons not to want to leave Nigeria or in the name of Jackpa. So that's one aspect of the discourse we must have in mind. So when you have the power put in place, you must first of all follow up with youth empowerment, a deliberate effort, design programs like they have had in India, another part of the world that are making progress in that regard. We can borrow a leaf from them. That is one aspect. 2, Tinubu have to show leadership. What I mean leadership here, Nigeria is fragmented in every aspect of it. If you come to Twitter here, you will see how difficult it is to do so. He has to be a leader, and a leader to everybody. If he has become a president of Nigeria, no matter the hook and sinker he may become, he need to marry everybody. He need to make sure that we do not do business as usual, because people do not have faith in this system. People have lost faith in the system. So he can be a leader. He still have opportunity to do so. Nigeria have never had a national hero. Tinubu can do so. It's not a big deal. It's not mystical. He can marry everybody, both the Igbos, both the Hausa, both the Benis, both where we are coming from. He can do so. At the end of the day, people will see the reason to be empathetic and contribute to the system. Once you don't believe in the system, you will see reason to steal from the system. And it must show. Leadership is not when you buy luxury car for your family. It must show in your attitude, in your actions, in your proclivities, in everything you are doing. People must see that you are making some kind of altruistic intentions. They are seeing the altruistic intention. They are saying that the finance that are with you, are embedded with you, are spent in a very religious manner to the help, to this generality interest, not to the just few people that we have in Nigeria. Then we talk about the last one, which I will talk about, which is where I'm coming from. We must look at education. We must be deliberate in our educational system. Because we have people who are not educated, and if you have educated people, it will make them to make right choices as people. You cannot give them rights and say you will win, you will get them whatever you want to get them. It's not possible. People must be our richness as a people is not in oil or natural resources. It's in the people. How do we develop Nigerian people? And we must be deliberate about it. I've not seen the last few months, I've not seen those deliberacy in that intention in all these sectors I've mentioned, and even beyond. I can mention very plenty. I can talk about the judiciary where I'm coming from, and the administration of criminal justice, and terms of the whole gamut of judiciary and the judicial system is bad. So I won't talk about that. But at least we can look at those what we call a low-hanging fruit. What can we start doing? First of all, like I said, it must show that leadership. You just have to show it. People are losing faith every day. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. I really appreciate your thoughts there. And a lot of things are coming to my mind as you were speaking out there. And I do think that anybody who leads Nigeria can actually make a hero out of themselves, because the problems of Nigerians are enormous. And I mean, anybody who does good to Nigeria will never be forgotten, because people are suffering. If you take their pains away, they will never forget you. I'm seeing something from YouTube here. Emmanuel Oyedele says, by mid next year, we will all know if Tinubu's government is heading to a safe destination. And I'm seeing on Instagram, Adeni.Wemimo says, Kwara State government is doing well to bring relief to the citizens. We heard news from the state every day. Yeah. So let me get some other people into the conversation. I wish someone can challenge our government in Osun. No accountability on palliative received from federal government and nothing from the state government to the citizens except promise upon promise. Okay. Okay, yeah. So keep the comments coming in. It's an open mic today, and let's get everyone talking. Let's get your views. Now, has the Tinubu government started on a right footing? That's one thing that is also important. If you say, oh, they want to deliver on the promises, the president is saying, if you do not perform, you have to go. Those who believe that, oh, there are some people, even if they don't perform, it's going to be difficult for the president to show them the exit door. Let's allow Valentine at Valentine 004 on Twitter to get into the conversation. Do you think, Valentine, that President Tinubu has started in the right way?
Yeah, good evening, Sean. Good evening, everyone, and thanks to be here.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I would say no. I'm not sure the president has started in the right way. To be honest with you, even if I'm not a fan of Tinubu, but I know for sure that there are some things that he has practically done well, and in most cases, I mean, in most times, he's made some appointments that are very, very bad and it's not good for the country in terms of the optics. Okay, for instance, if you look at the appointments he's made so far in terms of those that really control the finances of Nigeria, he seems is in one, particular zone or side of the country, which I believe is not good. So, but the ultimate part of this thing is we want to see development in Nigeria. We want to see a situation whereby, like, we can look back and say, yes, the person we've employed to be the CEO of the country is doing the job that we've asked him to do. Take, for instance, we want to see the naira go down. We want to see the unemployment go down, inflation go down. So these are the real issues. We are talking about performance. I think in most cases, majority of Nigerians don't actually know what to expect from from our ministers or the cabinet. For instance, Minister for Agriculture, what are we expecting from him? Is there any conversation, like, in terms of KPI? What does he want to offer us? In terms of, for instance, CBN governor or minister for, finance, what do we expect in terms of exchange rate? So these are the things that we want to know. And I don't know why it's difficult for them to engage Nigerians, because obviously over the years, they believe that even if we talk to them, we don't really need to talk to them because we don't need them to be in this position. We know how to get our way. We know what to do to get to this position. So it's very, very wrong, and it's not good. So I think he has started on a bad form. Then on the issue of because one of the last speakers, the NYC guy, I just want to chip this one in quickly. I think we should also, for us to support this country, we should look beyond, like, getting a formal employment, like, oh, I'm waiting for the day I'll get employment in the ministry or one or two few institutions. Yes, everybody, we cannot work in the bank, we cannot work in the ministries or with the government parastatals. We can actually do something for ourselves. For once, I think this is personally for me now. I made a mistake about 10 years ago. And to be honest, I just tried to ignore it because I don't want to sound like I'm regretting it. When I left my secondary school, before I got admission into University of Ilorin, I think I spent like 3 years. So during those 3 years, I was into this retail business, like recharge cards. And somebody actually approached me, and is ready to set me up. This was as far back as 15 years ago, like a business worth 10 million. All he needed from me, and then I was in Akure, the person was from Lagos, so MTN just got to Akure there, so he needed somebody to act like a dealer. All he needed for me was to take me to my parents and do some things like just to know them. He has actually been observing me where I was selling those stuff, and so he felt like, oh, I can actually set this person up. But guess what? I turned it down because I've been wired to believe that if I don't go to school, I cannot make it. I don't know if you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I started working in Lagos, I can tell you, Sean, I set up a business that I was earning an average of, that was giving me an average of between 80 to 100 in a week, plus my salary. But you know what? I still mess it up. No, because like I just want to make sure that everything I have comes from salary. Like it's salary, it's salary. So the attitude of let me develop this thing myself. And I know a few people would have just like resigned from their employment and focus on that business and maximize the profit. But it didn't come my way. I've always been believing that I want to work. So I know, yes, government would have to do a lot of things. Like one, electricity is very important, and security. Those two things are very important if we really want to get like the proper development we need in Nigeria. So I would advise the government to look into that area. One, most especially electricity, because it's eating a lot of things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing chief_chef01 on Instagram. Quite interesting comment here. He says, you people are still doing zone. If it takes an all Hausa cabinet to make it better, then let it be, man. Nigerians are still at a place where we are still doing zone and religion, laughing, LMAO, whatever that means. So let's get some other people, and I see some comments here. Let me take a few from Twitter. I think we should focus more on the state governors. They should allow local government to function. That's Adeyemo Abiding on Twitter. Timi Babatunde says, what really and exactly is this vision of Tinubu that his ministers must deliver on? What is his vision for Nigeria? That's where we need to start. Fantastic. He also went further to say there is over-centralization of power, resources, and initiatives at the center, that is Abuja. This makes for all the inefficiencies, corruption, and docility that we see. Hashtag on board Nigeria to regional autonomies, resource control, management, and parliamentary forms of government. Let's get some other people talking. Dr. Femi Yekini on Twitter at FemiYek. Please, your mic is on. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Sharon. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So, talking about your topic, tracking federal government deliverables. I want to start my conversation tonight on a positive note to say that it's actually possible to have deliverables in a very short time when we have people that know what they are doing and they're actually doing it. And let me give two good examples quickly. Everybody, even critics can agree that, for example, the Minister of Interior, especially when it comes to the issue of passports, is doing something good. He went there with radical idea to ensure, and this guy made sure they cleared thousands of backlog, and he said he was going to do it, and he got it done. And I'm not the kind of person that just believes in what they say. I actually went myself, around that time I was in the country and I, processing the passport for my daughter, and I went in there and I saw that, in fact, I could see that the immigration officers everybody was being very careful as to what they say or what they do, because, like a week earlier, the minister had sent a task force team from Abuja to all these officers to see what was going on. And believe me, I was very impressed, because 2 months earlier, I was in the country to process my own passports. And you could see the level of bureaucracy, the level of nonchalant attitude by these officers was so alarming. Like I was very ashamed, and I literally had to quarrel with some of them and fight and say, what are you guys doing? So when I came back for my daughter's passport and I saw the way things were being done, I was very, very impressed. So that's just one in like a million deliverables, but that's impressive. So what it shows, and another thing again is from about 3 days ago, we can see that the naira has started to rebound. We're seeing the naira, moving from 1.3 to like right now is like below 900. What happened? The CBN, team made one move. They paid the whole backlog of the forex owed to multinationals, and that has, done a lot of things to help boost the naira. So what does this show? We can have deliverables in a short time if we have people that know their job and they are doing it. In fact, the way it is, I think we need radical ministers, radical people to be in charge of various ministries and various organizations. So I know everybody must have seen this, but the level of corruption, nonchalant attitude, and bureaucracy in our civil and public service is alarming. If we must grow as a country, if we must go places as a country, there is a need for something to be done about our public servant and civil servant. Like the bureaucracy, the nonchalant attitude, the corruption is so much, such that we need radical ministers and radical DGs or chairmen of organizations that can actually deal with this, to get things done. So generally, if we have round pegs and round holes, things would actually work. I also think that the idea of having like a supervisory, special advisor in a supervisory role, like what Adiza is going to be doing, is important, because now every minister or special advisor knows that they're not just going to go, like in the former Buhari area, and just they appoint you and you're gone. Nobody asks you what is going on, And like somebody said earlier, we need to know the KPIs of what is going on. Probably each ministry should come out to their policy statement, to tell us what exactly you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it, what you're going to be doing, so we can hold you responsible. If we are lumping everything together, we are not going to be able to achieve anything. But if we have specific policy statements, specific deliverables, okay, this is what I want. And the Minister of Interior is a good example. When he came in, the first interview he did, he said what he wanted to do, and he did it. He said, this is what I want to do. I want to clear the backlog of this passport. How can you go and apply for a passport and you're waiting 5, 4, 6 months? If you don't pay the immigration officers, you won't get anything. And he said he wanted to get that done, and he did his best, and all the backlogs. That is the kind of proactive governance that we want. The entire ministry should come out with their policy statement, tell us what you want to achieve, tell us the time frame, and so that we can be able to hold you responsible.
Let me ask you a few questions. Okay, one,
yes,
48 or 49 members of the ministers that are being. Do you think that is too much?
Yeah, I think that's too much.
Okay,
like to have such ministers is too much. I understand Nigeria is a very big country, and we have a lot. So this is the problem I see, and all you need to understand the bureaucracy in this country is just go to one ministry, enter the ministry, something that needs to be done that one person can do, about 5 people. So let me give an example. So 2 months ago, when I came for my passport, in a particular office, we had 5 immigration officers seated doing something that one person on the computer can do. So, okay, carry your file. Oh, yeah, this person. Have you checked it? Yes, sign. Yeah, give this other person. Check. Has he checked? Sign. 5 people. That is the same thing happening in the country. We have too many organizations and agencies that don't even know their duty. They don't even know what they are doing. A lot of these ministries or agencies need to be merged, and we need to have proactive people in them. Having 48 ministers is not going to achieve anything if they don't even know what they are supposed to do. So I think that's a very large cabinet, considering the economic state right now. However, they're already there now. I hope they're able to deliver. If they don't come out with deliverables and the policy statement, also be a waste of time. And honestly, we can see that some members of the cabinet are already proactive in what they want to do, and they're going to get it done. But I just hope at least we can have, when we look at the percentage of performance after 4 years, we can.
But you know the fear that let us not deceive ourselves. Politics is also paddy, and those who have been appointed are some kind of paddy. And there are those who, I hope everyone understand what I meant by paddy. Friendship and, those kind of things. So camaraderie based on what they've done for each other during the election period. There's one or two persons
Yes.
that people believe they've been with Tinubu for several years. It is not possible,
Yes.
even if they don't perform, it will patch it and still,
Yes.
rock the boat with them to the very end.
Yes.
Do you think that
Yes.
genuinely Tinubu can actually send some of these people packing out of his cabinet?
I mean, I think.
Good
I
evening,
think
Shem.
Sorry, let him land and I'll
can
bring
I
you
go on?
in. Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right.
Just hold on.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Good evening. Good evening, Shem.
Stakeholder, just hold on. Just for a moment. Let Dr. Femi just land. Then I'll bring you
Okay.
in.
all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I think President Tinubu understands the enormity of what is in front of him, and I know that he would not want to. So there's one thing I've seen about him so far, and that's the fact that I think,
Hello?
like the previous administration, he actually listens, and maybe those in charge of the social media are actually watching it and they're listening. I've seen that some very wrong nominations or policies that has been made has been reversed. I see that he's listening. So he knows the enormity of the work before him. If I mean, you can share political maybe you want to settle your political appointees or whatever it is, you want to give them. I mean, you can maybe put them in some other, but major ministries that are involved in the well-being of this country cannot be used as a political party. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. That's why I was kind of excited, because we were really wondering where they were going to put the former governor of Kano State. But and I'm glad they were able to put him as the chairman of APC. I mean, to go and do something, whatever it is he wants to do there. So, but I know that President Tinubu, the little that I know about him while I was a student union leader, so I understand that when there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of pressure for him to perform, he would definitely perform. And if he involves in sacking people to make sure it gets things done, he would. I believe he's going to sack
Okay,
them.
quickly,
Thank you.
quickly. I see. Just
Yes.
hold on, Angen there, Dr. Yakini.
Okay, sir.
Linus on YouTube is saying, as a Nigerian citizen, ask yourself, what do you benefit from Nigerian government? And you sink your own borehole, you provide your own security, you put solar on yourself, you provide your own your power, your electricity. I mean, perhaps one valid thing that's one of the reasons some people say, why do I need to pay tax when government hardly provide anything for us? Well, that's on one hand. On the other hand, Olusegun Oguns on YouTube is asking you, Dr. Ekini, and he says, my concern with the improved Naira value is the sustainability. The government borrowed money to clear the FX backlog. They have simply shifted the debt from one counterparty to another. We have not earned any income to execute this. In another 2 or 3 months, we are likely to be back to 1,100 Naira to the dollar. Quickly respond to that before we bring in someone else.
All right, thank you very much. So first of all, I would want to disagree with the first, the opinion of the first person. Nigeria actually gives a lot. We are not where we want to be, but trust me, there's a lot of things that we do enjoy as Nigerians. Number one is education. The education may not be what you think it should be. For example, I did my master's abroad in the US with $50,000. I could literally do it, in University of Ife or wherever it is, with 1 million naira or 2 million naira, and also my PhD with about $50,000, also in a private university in the US. So education, for example, fine, even security. I know they are not on top of their game right now, but trust me, they're doing their best. Is a lot there. Is a lot that that Nigeria is giving us. We are not there yet. We just need a good team that can help us harness all these benefits. Trust me, you need to look at other countries to see what is going on in other countries to know that actually Nigeria is doing Nigeria is not doing too badly. We are not where we were supposed to be, but we're not doing too badly. Education is an example. Even security too is an example. I mean, I can't tell about a lot of states, but at least Lagos and some of the states are doing, they're doing their best. But of course, the government needs to do more. But to say generally that there's nothing that's not actually correct. So, and secondly, on the issue of the forex, yes, I understand the fact that the government infused some money to. I mean, but at least that was, even if even if the new CBN governor is trying to do a test, that was a good test for him to do. And I believe what I think that can be done, straight away is to look for a way, to increase our own exports, and to get more to the country. That's what I think the team should be doing now. Now, one of the major things is that now multinationals and all these companies know that they can trust us. We've cleared all our debt to pay the money. It has allowed the naira to rebound. Now, when we bring up great ideas for investment and also for export, I think we'll do better. And I think as long as they continue to try and do something good, and I think positive results will abound.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's get a stakeholder, I think, was trying to speak earlier. So you can go ahead right now.
Good evening, Sean.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah.
Do you want me to go on, Sean?
Oh, I mean, yeah, go ahead. Yes. We're listening to you.
Good evening, Sean. Good evening, everyone. I'm quite excited about this podcast. I've been listening to your podcasts, really. But quickly, I have been watching the president since his assumption of office. The first thing I saw was the political will to take some very hard decisions, which has been lacking with our previous government. Like you rightly said, paddy. But if you know them, you know where you can actually pull the plug. The first thing he did was to suspend the subsidy, which was not budgeted for. Secondly was to float the naira, which has never been floated in the last 40 years that I know of. Now, I followed the minister retreat. And I'm very glad that he's coming from the private sector. I'm also in the private sector. I've worked in a Nigerian bank. I've worked in an Irish bank. I'm currently in the UK working as a corporate banker as well. So I know quite a bit of what is going on. Now, the very first thing that we saw that the floating of naira, of course, actually made the investors to have that confidence that, okay, they can bring in their investment and to be able to actually have that government policy that would actually support their investment. If you remember, in 2017, when a dairy investment firm came into Nigeria and they were happy to invest. On the other hand, another policy for importation on dairy products was they were giving concession. So that actually discouraged the implementation and the investment of that dairy firm. Now, the president has said, if you don't perform, you will leave us. Sheon, I can tell you today that is bringing that private sector experience into governance today. And I'll tell you for free that I head a sector where I work. And I tell my team members, guys, this is our budget for the year. We need to be on top of our game. I, as a leader, I don't want to fail. I want to go to my KPR on a quarterly basis. I want to go to my monthly MPR on a monthly basis. I want to raise my head up. Why? Because I know I'm hitting my numbers and I'm driving the team to ensure that those numbers are being met. The ecosystem that has been projected, which is being coordinated by the policy, these are the policy coordinating SA. I am telling you, if it's properly implemented, any minister that fails to actually achieve the deliverables that they have been signed, because I saw Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, yesterday saying that if his MDAs do not perform, he will not lose his job, they will lose their job. And the take home was that cascade these deliverables down to your ministries. Because the thing is, I think in the past, permanent secretaries don't follow their ministers to the Federal Executive Council. Now, it's part of the recommendation that they have to go out with their ministers. So the mode, the leadership, as you has demonstrated, is the can-do spirit. Even if you have that notion that, oh, I just want to do business as usual, by the time you listen to his speech, then you can now see where the president is heading to. You will see that, yes, it is not business as usual. I don't have a paddy now. All I want to do is to deliver for Nigerians. And we can see some examples from the Minister of Interior, from Minister of Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, you can see that everybody is trying to be on their toes to ensure that these deliverables are met. You want to go into that QPR, quarterly QPR that has been mentioned that, okay, the first quarter one will happen in January, February. You want to go there and say, this is what we have done. And they said there's going to be a mobile tracker for every Nigerian to actually follow the progress. He said that it's not perfect. Perfection is of God. If he makes mistakes, he's ready to correct those mistakes. There are some policies that they've made. What did he do? He reversed them. That is when you know you see a listening leader. In the past, we will see that people will criticize and say, no, this government has made a mistake. They won't even listen to you. You mentioned something yesterday when you're interviewing Frank Nweke Jr., when you said that the arrogancy of the political appointees, yes, it's quite a lot. But now, if a president sees that he made a mistake, then he said, okay, sorry, I need to reverse this. That means he's listening. I remember past President Babangida during the military era, he said Gani Fayemi is a checker for him. But by the time a policy is being promulgated, and once Gani is saying something about it, what does he do? He goes back to the drawing board. That means you have a listening here of a leader. It tells you that if you don't listen to the people, because a bad leader is someone that does not listen to his followers. If you don't listen to the people, that arrogance you mentioned shown yesterday, it will definitely be what will be in display. And I believe, quite frankly, that the policies of this government in terms of the floating of Naira, I know that the confidence of this backlog being cleared, which I know that, I can tell you for free, what I manage in terms of portfolio to support businesses in Nigeria is in excess of $2 billion for different strata of our economy, but it is not enough. And again, we need to look for a way to have more export proceeds into the country. And the digitalization of the forex, whereby you can buy your forex in IIN window, and people can come in and play willing seller and willing buyer. By the time you have that supply and you have enormous excess proceeds into the system, the demand for forex will do what? Come down. And again, we need to look at our appetite for luxury items. Let us actually buy what we manufacture in Nigeria. All those luxury items are a killer to our economy. They are the ones that actually demand more forex. People want to buy Weave On, you want to buy luxury items. Those items are not being manufactured in Nigeria. So we citizens, we have a role to play as well.
All right. I mean, there are those who think that maybe a president will give an order to say, whatever we don't produce locally, we don't consume. But the question is that how many things do we consume that we produce locally? Virtually everything that makes a Nigerian to survive has an element of importation. The food we eat, almost everything has an element of importation in it. But I mean, I like to get in a few more people, and I see some more comments here. Chief_chef on Instagram was saying the funniest thing is all the candidates said they will all the exact same thing Tinubu is doing, but we're still angry, meaning not even understood the gravity of things. Let me get a few. I saw some very quite interesting comments on Instagram. Dollar has come down. Tejumala, the people who use it as an excuse haven't reduced their prices. That's another problem. Political patronage itself embeds corruption and nepotism. The presidency is working hard to bring best to Nigerians over to we citizens to embrace the policies. Again, let us keep corruption starting from individuals to the federal government level. That's Tejumala 2012 on Instagram. Amonsuru 10, it says on Instagram, I bet you, Sean, if Tinubu wants to succeed in this administration, the only thing he should is to make sure all the prices at various markets must reduce down. Things are very tough for people. And let me get a few comments on YouTube. King Sophie 29 says the best way for Tinubu to start making things right is by ensuring there is autonomy for local government across the country. Ezekiel Link says the major problem we have is the 1999 constitution. We need to restructure the country to reflect true federalism. This system won't work. Now, I'd like us to quickly just begin to bring our thoughts and our conversation home. The big question is there's a lot of suffering in the land, and one now sounds like a crack record when you keep saying this, but it's the reality of our times. People are suffering. People do not have jobs. People are in abject poverty. There's a huge population of our people, of our young people that are unemployed. But the big question is, there are those who believe that with the way and manner things are in Nigeria, it might take a longer time. Will Nigerians be patient with Bola Tinubu to be able to deliver? Because when it's getting longer, people get impatient, and there's some agitation that will come in the minds of people. What do you, in your mind, I'm going to get one or two more people before we close the podcast to let us know, what in your own mind do you think Bola Tinubu can do? Because he needs to impress Nigerians. He needs to show capacity. What immediately can he do to alleviate the poverty of Nigeria, the poverty in the land, and to make Nigerians smile? Anyone on Twitter space that is ready to talk right now? I see Sonny at Rose Ogba. Please, your mic is on, Sonny. Go ahead.
Hello, Shehu. Greetings, everyone.
Yeah.
And my comment, I just want to make a little comment on the presidency. I think in the beginning, the decision he made in the beginning, I think for me was very wrong, because the previous speaker was saying that I have a board to take to remove the subsidy, which is very wrong, because to remove subsidy, it makes the Nigerian economy is very backward. Float the naira. You and I know how much is dollar today. You know, the investors, they are watching. You can't just go to them and tell them to come to invest in your country. They are watching your body language. They are watching how you are doing your policy. You know, if first day, or let me in the beginning, if you're a good somebody that have a good team, I think first thing to do, your first policy is going to be impact for the people. You know, it's not just about how long you stay in the power or how many days you stay in the office. I mean, if you have a good policy from day one, you're going to see how affect the people. But I don't think this government have what it takes to impact for the people, to make the people, have the development of the democracy and people. Because as you and I, we are talking now, a lot of people, they are suffering, a lot of poverty, here and there. And the infrastructure is zero. There's not even good road all over the state, like the country. You can see everywhere. And that is what investors they are just watching and looking how this government is going to fix it. If you have started doing it like, let me just say, like declare emergency of bad road, like federal road in Nigeria, declare emergency of education and the bad primary health care, all of this facility for government. So for me, that would have making for me to understand that this government really means business, but it was not doing it. Instead, it was appointing one section of the country like nepotism. I mean, that was investors also watching as well. You can't just come more or lie. You try to sweet mouth the investor to come to invest for your country. You need to do what they want, because they're not going to put their money at the end of the day. They don't get their money back, and our exchange rate is not, you can't predict it. Tomorrow it may be another bogey, and that's why the investors, they are very carefully. So like I said, I mean, I don't know, I don't wish in any bad, but for me, if you have anything to do, it would have started in the beginning.
So I'm saying that. Can we say, and I want us to wrap up the conversation, which areas do you think the president needs to tackle immediately? Because most Nigerians in another few months, they will be impatient.
Yeah. If you let's focus for the economy first of all. Let me focus because the economy.
What area of the economy? What area?
Yeah, I mean social welfare and infrastructure, and all of that. If you are able to do that, I mean the economy will be okay. And you have to, you can't float naira without you don't peg it. That is the problem you also have. You need to peg the naira. You cannot just float the naira, just because it said naira should be floated. There's no country in the world who floats naira without peg. They peg their money. They don't just float it like that. That's my own submission.
All right, thank you
If
so
you
much.
all,
Thank you, Sonny.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
Appreciate.
Hello,
Yeah.
Good evening, Sean.
Ciao. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I think basically, for me, I think all this we have been talking about circles around power generation and the crude oil. Crude oil is the major source of income for Nigeria, and I think President Tinubu, the Minister for Petroleum, we should actually number one look at that area. What can I do? I need to increase my generation. That's number one. Two, power generation. We are importing. We are always putting pressure on the naira. The dollar is going up because we depend on importation. Why can't we just make our electricity stable? If we get our electricity right, industry can spring up. All the importations we are doing will definitely reduce because people will get engaged. Then that is when they can now start chipping. Oh, I want to start paying by hourly rates. Because when you have enough factory running, the youth that are unemployed will actually have a place to work. If a youth is making as high as 80,000, 90,000 naira in a month by working hourly, investing his time in something, definitely the issue of insecurity will definitely go down. The issue of poverty will definitely go down. Then the fuel that we are saying we are importing, we keep importing fuel. If yes, Dangote refinery is going to work, fine, it's going to sell it in international market rates, but let electricity work, it will reduce the effect of our dependence on petroleum because you want to run your business, you are still going to buy fuel you are still going to buy expensive fuel when you don't have electricity. So all these things they are very important. Power to me is very, very important. Let it work. Then that's when we can now say, we want to start focusing on other things. Okay. Thank you.
Let me quickly bring Abeli. I've seen his hand. Just about 30 seconds. Which areas do you think Tinubu needs to tackle immediately?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sheon. For me, honestly, I want to align with one of your comment you read on YouTube. I think the Constitution is the problem. The Constitution is the major problem Nigeria is facing today. I remember Erufai, Malam Nairusu Erufai, they came up with one APC restructuring document. Even though if APC don't want to go to Jonathan 2014 confab, why there is no time? Like me, I voted Ashiwaju because I know for sure he's a federalist mindset person. That is the major problem we are facing in Nigeria. If we don't fix the Constitution, just like a Christian, the Bible is our guidance, Islam, the Quran. The Constitution is the problem. Fix that document, every other things will be falling in place. But as we speak today, as you want 10,000s of Achuadu will just try. 8 years will complete, another president will come in and continue the problem. Let us, for once, just look at this constitution and let every part of the country work. As we speak today, only the Niger Delta money and tax from Lagos cannot sustain the country, 200 million people. You imagine today, you tax some people from the south, some people on the other part of the country, you don't tax them and you share this money across the country. Like me, myself, I'm not always happy when you tax me from Ogun State and then you take that money to federal inland revenue and you share the money across the country. It will not work. The country is not functioning. Majority of the country is not functioning. That's not how to run a federalist system.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let me quickly also get Ayodeji at One Mind Mickey on Twitter. Please, you have the mic and it's on. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sean, and good evening, everyone. Again, I would say very clearly that I think there are certain issues that just need to be treated in terms of, cutting down our overall expenses. We've seen what happened in presidency recently, and our expenditures are too high. My first recommendation is that, even though I didn't really vote for this government, I still think that they have the opportunity to correct some of the wrongs that have happened, so far. First, Justice Uwe's report has to be implemented for INEC to be proper, because if we don't get our elections correct, every time there's an election, we still have to go to the court. The court is the final place for elections to be decided. Then I think we have not started yet. Secondly, I think that the report also from the white paper from Christopher, is it Christopher Colledy now? I can't remember the name. I'm just trying to remember now. That report also has to be implemented. When we do those two, constitutional review or reform, because the constitution in itself is defective, we have to do that. Now, I think that this government has the opportunity to do that because of the trust issues, the trust gap between the people and the government. So if you reform the constitution, or at least give room for that reformation, the 2014 confab was done. We can implement that. That's a start. We can reform the constitution. We can implement Justice Waste report, the civil service report. I've forgotten the name of it. I can't remember now. But
Steve Onrosaye, Steve Onrosaye, civil service report.
The Steve Onrosaye report, so that we can cut down on our expenses. And finally, right, for me, I think that if this government will get only one thing right before the end, at least of these first 4 years, then they would have done something, and that is electricity. Like somebody said earlier, everything we consumed is being imported. Everything, there's nothing that is going out. If we have electricity, it will increase productivity, production will start, and we'll start exporting, right? I think that those are the, quick wins. So some of the quick things that can be done, one, to build trust, right, to bridge that gap for the trust deficit, and then secondly, to show some sense of reality in terms of wanting to reform the country, the constitution, and those two reports I talked about. For me, I think that would hit home better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see a few other comments here. Owolabi Tumishe on YouTube says, I still believe this government can succeed. But, well, it's top of the hour, and I think that, we've pretty much shared our views. And one thing that is very important here tonight is that we may talk and talk and talk and talk. As citizens, the reason why we did an open mic today is to come to the realization that, yes, the government is to be working for the people. It is our role as well, the media and citizen, to put the government on its toes to be able to deliver on what they have promised. And so we cannot keep quiet. In your own social media, in your own corner, in your local government, everybody belongs to a local government. You live in a local government. You live in a state. You belong to a senatorial district. You belong to a federal constituency. Engage. Call them out. Ask them questions. Engage with them. Those promises that are being made, if they're not being done, take pictures. Show them. One way that we also can be playing our role as citizens is that we need to lend our voices to the issue of policy. Well, we can track deliverables. What it means is that ministers and other top government officials must be kept on their toes. Without a well-defined KPIs, it may be hard to track KPIs. It becomes even more difficult in public service because of bureaucracy and lack of accountability. Tough political decisions must be made, especially when it is to the benefit of the greater number of Nigerians. The buck stops on the desk of the president. Yes, he'll be expected to put pressure on his cabinet like he's doing. Then the ministers are expected to put pressure on MDAs, and it all trickles down like that. Then we have a positive ripple effect. It's been an interesting conversation here tonight, everyone. Topics like these are inexhaustive. The conversation continues. But one thing that is important is that you have a role as a citizen to take action, to ask questions, and take your own destiny as a people into your own hands by asking the tough question on the people that lead you. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast, everyone. I'll see you next time. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.
For joining us on this edition of Mike On Podcast with Shayon Okimbaloi. Mike On Podcast for the independent mind. Thank you for joining us on this